A Happy Pocketful of Money by David Cameron Gikandi. Read by John Wayne Myers. Disc 4. Conditions. They are fantastic illusions. I once had this rather complex dream. It was in a language that was, well, symbolic, but wordless would be the best way to describe it. It was one of those dreams one gets when they are just almost waking up, when they are half awake and half asleep. I was well aware of what was happening. An orange wall appeared in front of my eyes, and I began to pay attention. Then, in a script that looked like symbols, yet I could somehow read it during the dream, words started to appear, and they said something like, "Conditionality does not exist. It is created." And it went on for quite some discussion time. A knowing voice also read along in a vibration-like language as I watched and understood. It was about 5 sentences long, very complete and sensible knowledge. It ended in seconds, and I quickly got up and pulled out my notebook to try to write again the exact words that were spoken. But the minute I started getting frantic looking for a pen, I lost the words exactly. In any case, their composition was not linear like these sentences in this book are. Nevertheless, I of course was able to keep the understanding even though I lost the exact wording. Here, in this chapter, is the essence of it. It is a little easier to understand if you first understood the real nature of time and quantum physics. Once you fully understand time, you will also understand that it is a scientific illusion. Einstein and other brilliant scientists have shown to us how the space-time continuum really works. We now see how everything, the past, present, and future, all exists in the eternal moment of now. But being little participants within this moment, we experience a sensation of time as we pass other participants in that continuum. As we see in quantum physics, the quantum soup is quite literally all these things and options that can possibly exist, existing all at one go. In other words, everything you can possibly imagine, and more, all exists already, and it exists at this moment of now. Everything. So a wealthy you and a non-wealthy you all exist simultaneously, but you are experiencing only one of them. You are conscious, awake to, and aware of one. Okay, it is time for you to put your thinking cap on. Here we go. If everything exists all at one go right now, can you see how conditions do not exist as real properties of the universe? If all possible outcomes exist, how can there be a condition against certain outcomes existing when they already exist? Look, just a moment ago you read the last sentence. You have already read it. How then can there be a condition that you have not read it when you have already read it? It is not possible. So because everything possible, everything conceivable already exists, it is not possible for a condition of it not existing against its already existence. Your being wealthy already exists scientifically and spiritually. All you need to do is shift your awareness, your consciousness, to that part of yourself that is wealthy. There are no conditions of that part existing. Nothing can stop it from existing because it already exists, but you can create other outcomes that look like conditions. For example, another thing that exists, but you may not be experiencing it, is you being not wealthy materially, you feeling procrastination or feeling out of time, you going to the casino and getting a gambling habit, being in a poor country, having no education, and so on. All these are independent existences that are the opposite of wealthy existence. But just because they exist does not mean that the wealthy existence does not exist or exists depending on these other existences. People make a mistake of saying, well, if I was born in a wealthy family or in a good country or with this gift or that knowledge, or if I went to college or had that thing happen to me, I would be wealthy. They assume that wealth has a condition. Yet what they call a condition is actually another independent existence. In other words, you can get to wealth with or without having to pass through the so-called condition. You do not need to fulfill these conditions to get wealthy. But when you believe in conditions, then they will be there. There are countless paths to wealth, and conditions are just one of those paths. It is your choice whether or not you wish to go through conditions. Even time, which looks like a condition, is not a condition. People think you need a lot of time and age to get wealthy, so it happens that way for them. But it does not have to be that way. Everything that is conceivable exists. You can only understand this if you understood the nature of time, quanta, and spirit. Conditions are not if-then statements that separate having and not having. They are just another outcome out of an infinite number of outcomes. They do not exist as conditions. They exist as just another possible existence. You do not have to pass through them, but if you believe in conditions and you create them, then of course you will experience them. The important thing to know is that, even scientifically, conditions do not exist as if-then statements, as requirements that you have to go through, or as traps that you are born in and must stay in, or as things you can only get out of using certain actions and getting certain help that is outside of you. Conditionality does not exist. We have designed conditionality on our own. What you call a condition is not a condition. It is just another one of those infinite possible existences, and it does not exclude you from having another existence. Read on, and you will understand them, and then overcome them. Conditionality does not exist. Outside circumstances can only affect you as far as you allow them to do so. The outer environment and conditions of a person are always related to the person's inner states and thought. It is through the environment and conditions that a person experiences and discovers their thoughts and states. This is made possible by the fact that the universe, without error, fashions the environment and conditions a person has from their thoughts and states of being. A person is always in the perfect setting to see and experience themselves, to change and grow. It is in recognizing and using this perfect system that a person can direct and quicken their growth in wealth and all other areas. Think outside the square. The square is the box that has been created for you by your past conditioning, experiences, teachers, news, environment, and so on. It is not a real box. It only exists in the mind, your mind, and the minds of those around you. This is all that keeps the square there. It is not real on its own. It needs you and everyone else to survive. You can break outside of it by thinking outside the square. You have heard this many times, but now you can finally do it all the time. You do it by dropping all constructions you have in your mind as to how to do things. For example, some people who have never had a university education believe that to be wealthy, one has to have a university degree. They were told that, and they think they may have observed that, so they hold it true. But this limitation can be removed simply by dropping that construction and its belief in it from all thought. Many have dropped it and succeeded wildly. In fact, Bill Gates of Microsoft voluntarily dropped out of college. He just never did finish that undergraduate degree. And millions around the world have succeeded wildly without a college degree. This is not to say you should not go to university. Universities have a very important role. But if you find that your square, your box, is that you have not been to university and you are unable to go there, then simply drop the construction and your belief in it, and your square will drop. That is thinking outside the square. You can do this in anything, from product development to finance, to new business ideas, to anything else. You do it merely by being aware, intending to do it, and consciously dropping your constructions. Question: how do you build a totally new and radical house or car? You build one by dropping all previous constructions of how you have been told a house or a car needs to be built. Drop it all and have a clean slate without any shoulds or should-nots. Then drop the slate. Let it all come to you. Inspiration unrestricted by should or should not is key. It is a very deliberate yet unbound thing to do. Very fruitful. Ask Einstein.